Hey everybody, I'm Howard, and this is Otter's Retirement Corner. So I want to talk about pets today, and I thought we should have Otter and Juno here. Here's Juno, here's Otter. We got treats. And Juno hasn't gotten any, so we're going to give Juno a treat. Okay, so obviously I want to talk about pets and companionship of animals in retirement. And I just carried Otter over here, and he's like 50-some pounds, and it's tiring. It's one consideration. Anyway, is it good for retirees to have pets? And when I say pets, I mean mostly dogs, but certainly cats, rabbits, birds, guinea pigs, hamsters, whatever it is you like. I've had rabbits before. They're outstanding, marvelous pets. They're extremely intelligent. They're playful, they're fun, and you can leave them alone for a long time. So, I'm a dog person. What I'm going to talk about is mostly dogs. But what I hear from everybody else is, what pets do you have, and what's the pros and cons? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. First and foremost, especially if you live alone, is companionship. Or, if you're married and like me, I'm home alone often as my wife goes out a lot. She's working a couple part-time jobs now. And even just at night when we're home, it's nice to have the dogs. Companionship, fights one of the scourges of retirement, and that's loneliness. Dogs are a little bit more interactive. That's why I think they're a little bit better for the companionship side. Certainly rabbits did it for me. Cats can probably do it for people. Birds, again, whatever. One of the best things for me is exercise. We do 3 walks a day, a short walk, a medium walk, and a long walk. I actually walk them separately, so my long walks might be 1.5 to 2 miles. They're a little too much for me to handle sometimes when I'm walking them together. Here, come on, bud. Come on. You didn't get any. Juno's on a diet. She doesn't know it yet, but she's on a diet. And research shows that people who own dogs live longer, and it's because of the extra exercise. Now, a lot of people own dogs, just, throw them out back. We do that 100 times a day, but they do get their walk, so they get some, enrichment to their lives. But it helps me. It also helps for mood. People who own pets tend to have better moods. They tend to be more upbeat. They tend to be more optimistic. This is just what the research shows. I'm sure you know some moody people who have dogs, but that's what the research shows. And it lowers stress levels. Even fish in an aquarium, they're shown to lower stress levels in the owners. I certainly get enjoyment out of them when stressful things are happening, and they take that stress away from me, or they make me forget about it. And whether that's a minute or an hour or all day, there's a benefit to it, certainly. They also give people structure. And what I mean by structure is, a lot of people, especially when they first retire, don't know what to do with their day. They have no schedule. They used to be very structured in work. Having dogs, you feed them at this time, they go for a walk at this time, they go out back at this time, they take a bath at this time. Whatever it is, you go to the park, you play with other dogs, you chase squirrels, whatever it is. Sorry. It gives you purpose and meaning throughout your day that you might not otherwise have. There's also possibly increased social interaction. If you go to a dog park or if you walk with other people, I went out to leave for softball this morning, and 2 women were walking by with their dogs who live over in the next neighborhood, and we talked for a while. They met each other because they own dogs. And now they have good friends that they didn't know before because they own dogs. That happened to us at the dog park. We met somebody who had a couple dogs. He started coming over here with his dogs. We got a friendship going until Otter attacked one of his dogs, and that was the end of it. Otter, we've had Otter for about 2 years. We've had Juno for about a year. Since we've gotten Juno, Otter's behavior has changed a little. He's extremely playful with her. He loves her. He protects her. He cares about her. unless she tries to eat his food, then all bets are off. But I think he became a little bit protective of her to the point where he got aggressive with some other dogs, and he's a little aggressive towards people now, and that'll help us segue into some of the negatives here. You know, a lot of people have friends who don't like dogs or don't like pets. It may be to the point where you can't have people over. Certain people, we have to be very careful now with Otter. He's going to have to wear a muzzle when people come over until we get him reacquainted with people that he's been friends with in the past, and learns to be nice again and civil. Never give up the bone. Trader Joe's peanut butter, great bones, great bones. Come on. Okay, you got it. Here, bud. Come on, bud. Come on, bud. Want to say hi to the camera? Say hi. Say hi. There you go. Okay. See, they have to check each other out. Anyway, so that's a possible con. You may become too old to have a pet. I'm 68. These guys are like, I don't know, 2.5 and 1.5 to 2, somewhere in that range. And if I die in 8 years and they're still here, what happens? Fortunately, I have my wife who's younger, but for a lot of people, you get a pet late in retirement or even early in retirement if you're just in poor health, and you pass, what happens to your pets? For that reason, I hope we all die at the exact same time, because I don't want to live without them, and I don't want to have them live without me. But they're certainly my wife. But for other people, that is a concern. So if you're getting old, you might want to consider not getting a pet just for that reason. It's unfair to a pet to live in a house with somebody and then have to completely change their lives and live with someone else. It's very difficult for the pet to adapt to that. They can anchor you to your home. And that's what we're finding. We can't bring Otter a lot of places right now. So, we don't travel as much, or don't travel at all right now. Vacations are kind of out the door unless we take them with, and then we have to be very careful where we take them and what we do. But if you have dogs that can't sit home alone a long time, if you want to go out for the day, if you want to go, something that's going to take you 6-8 hours, you have to rethink that. When do I have to be home for the dogs? Cats obviously tend to survive on their own for a longer time. That you can leave food out for them. They have a litter box. Dogs have to go outside. A rabbit was good for that. I could leave my rabbit home, 8, 10, 12 hours alone, and he'd be perfectly fine. There's that downside of where they could limit what you're able to do in life. And the biggest downside is cost. I tend to spend whatever it takes to take care of these guys. Dog food has become extremely expensive. We buy a Halo vegetarian dog food. Spend about $160, $170 a month on food. There's toys, there's equipment, leashes, harnesses, lots of toys, chew bones, toys. And the vet, we just went to the vet for Juno. She may have to take allergy pills year round, and that could be $50 a month alone. Just the blood test, $160. We had Otter to the vet to have his nails clipped recently, and he has to be sedated because he won't let you touch his back paws. Even me, he'll nip at me, but he'll bite people if they touch his back paws. So, all in all, it's a plus to me. I love these guys. I love these puppies. And, I can't see life without them. And, eventually that will happen, as it's happened in the past. But I enjoy it while it's here. I think it's wonderful for retired people. I recommend it if, you've got the time and the money and, the love in your heart to do it. One rule I have is once you have these puppies, they never go. It's like you don't give up your children, you don't give up your dogs. I may be having some asthma problems because of them, but that's life. So let me know, what you guys have. I'm interested to see if pet ownership in retirement is as large as it is in the population in general. Tell me what you have. Tell me the pros and cons that you're finding, and any other comments you want to make about pets. And until then, Juno says goodbye. Thanks. We'll see you later. Bye.